At least it's not just our apartment that feels like Satan's anal glands. Alex and Poppy, Poppy and Alex. Today I'm talking about People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This video will contain spoilers, so please watch at your own risk. Never have I ever read such a relatable romance that I loved so much. This is the first Emily Henry book I've ever read, but I've heard some pretty good reviews about a bunch of her different books. So I already had this one since I picked it up at Barnes & Noble just off one of the romance tables a couple years ago. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. Especially because I heard Netflix is turning it into a movie set to come out in January of 2026, I think. I love this book. I do. I have seen some reviews where people didn't like it or thought it was just goofy, but you know what? It's a romance book. They're going to be like that. I loved this so much. I ate it up so fast. I started it on a Friday and I finished it by that next Tuesday. So about 5 days probably. We've got two characters, Poppy and Alex, and they are best friends since they met in college. And every summer for the last 12 years, they have taken a summer trip together, except for the last 2 years, they haven't really been speaking, so they didn't go on a trip together. But recently, Poppy has been in a mentally ungreat place, so she decided she was going to try and get to the bottom of why they don't talk, and she's going to fix her friendship with Alex. So she's convinced Alex to go on one last trip with her, basically, to kind of figure out what happened between them. I really enjoyed the formatting of this book because you have it switching back and forth between this summer and their past trips. So their past trips all are just like 5 summers ago, 4 summers ago, 3 summers ago. And with the exception of the first chapter starting at the 5th summer ago, they all flip back and forth between chapters between this summer, and then it would be 12 summers, and then this summer, and then 11 summers, and just slowly moving your way through the past up to what happened 2 summers ago between them and why they stopped speaking with each other. So I really liked that, and the way it kind of builds up to the anticipation of, okay, what happened between them? Even though I loved this anticipation so much, I actually found the reveal to be incredibly anticlimactic. Throughout the book and the past and like the current summer and the past summers, Poppy keeps alluding to how she and Alex have done something before, even though they've only been friends and they were never like romantically involved ever. But she keeps alluding to how their friendship was ruined due to some sort of intimate action, even though she keeps reaffirming during the current summer that they've never done anything, but also the current summer saying that they did something like, oh, I can't do that because that's what messed up our friendship kind of thing. So it was really confusing there, just throwing you, this happened, but it didn't happen. So I was just frustrated with that and really excited. I think it kind of added to the anticipation of, well, what went down between them. The big reveal when you get to 2 summers ago is that they basically just drunkenly made out on the floor for like 3 minutes. And then Alex put a stop to it because they were both drunk, and he's like, we shouldn't be doing this drunk, like wanting to make sure that they both are doing this because they want to and not because alcohol. And because he put a stop to that, Poppy misunderstood and thought he didn't want her, so it just became awkward between them. So it was a little frustrating when it felt like there was this huge buildup to, oh, they must have had some sort of big, huge blowout argument, fight over something, when really it's just Poppy misunderstood an awkward moment and Alex misunderstood Poppy's reaction, thinking, oh, she thinks that was so awkward, we're not gonna like talk about it or talk again. They weren't angry with each other, they were just uncomfortable with a misunderstanding. Even though I didn't like this big reveal, and I don't feel like it ruined the book, it was just kind of a detail that I didn't like. I'm still rating this book 5 stars because I loved it so very much. But I will say the reveal was just a letdown for me. It felt like there was such a build-up just to not know what you wanted your build-up to be until you got there and just wrote out something random. Of course, being a romance novel, there's absolutely a happy ending, and I like where it ended, and I liked the happy ending, but also the way it was happening, I was totally gonna be okay with if they didn't get up together, or they didn't end up together, and Poppy just found a different part of life and started loving herself differently and moving on from all this stuff she's been feeling for over a decade. I actually would have loved that in a way of, yeah, it's a self love novel and a romance novel kind of thing. Like, I would have liked that too, but I do love that it had a sappy romance ending. This book is marketed as an adult romance, and it should definitely stay that way. I don't necessarily recommend this for anyone who is not an adult or not comfortable reading something that might have sexual encounters in them. I also think that it's just way more relatable for someone in their 20s. I'm in my early 20s, so there were parts of it I didn't relate to because I just don't have that sort of life experience. I also don't have any sort of corporate job experience. So it wasn't necessarily relatable to me in that way, but a lot of feelings and emotions felt relatable because of my age and life experience. So I think, someone who's 18, 19, 20 can definitely read this. They just may or may not relate to it, and therefore may or may not enjoy it as much. But I would absolutely recommend it for anyone, 20s and up. It is so beautiful. I loved it so much. As I always say, I do like to touch on the romance slash smut part of books because I know that can make or break something for a lot of people, especially with it being so popular in a lot of books right now. But there is a whole lot of people who don't necessarily want to read that or aren't comfortable reading that. So I always like to include this so people can understand what all is included in this book before deciding to read it for themselves. So the smut in People We Meet on Vacation is nowhere near as detailed as some things like A Court of Thorns and Roses or just other kinky smutty books. Some of it is more fade to black like you would get in a YA novel, as in like we kissed and he was taking my shirt off, and then you wake up the next morning and it's like, oh, we slept together kind of thing. So some of it is like that, but not all of it. It's really nothing more than like an offhanded, oh, we had sex, or like one semi-detailed but not very detailed paragraph. It's not really extensive, like a whole page or pages and pages. I mean, the scene might be a couple pages, but the actual like doing the deed isn't very long. So again, I mentioned A Court of Thorns and Roses. If you've ever read that, it's not like that. Nothing like the romance scenes in those novels. To put it in the best perspective, I would say if you're not comfortable reading smut, I think you'd still be comfortable reading this because it's not detailed in that way. I hope that can put some of that into perspective for you. In the end, I absolutely recommend People We Meet on Vacation. It was such a cute read. I was just obsessed with it, eating it up. I underlined so many parts in it. It is such a sweet book. I related so much to a lot of emotional moments in it. I will recommend it to anyone who's old enough to read it. I don't recommend this for young readers at all. But yes, it is such a good book. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and let me know any suggestions or recommendations you might have down below in the comments. You can also follow my Instagram and my Goodreads to keep up with what I'm reading or what I've read in the past, and I look forward to hearing back from you guys and seeing more of you on my channel.
Das war schön.